Hey everyone, assassination attempts on US presidents have shaped the course of American history. Because let's face it, the president is one of the most important people in America. Today, we count down the top 10 presidential assassination attempts, revealing the chilling details behind each incident. Let's dive into the dark chapters of history that could have changed the world forever. Coming in at number 10 on our list is Donald Trump, the 45th president. On June 18, 2016, a British national named Michael Sanford attempted to assassinate then-presidential candidate Donald Trump. During a rally in Las Vegas, Sanford tried to grab a police officer's gun to shoot Trump, but was quickly subdued. Thankfully, no one was harmed in this brazen attempt. In October 2018, envelopes containing ricin, a deadly poison, were sent to the White House, addressed to President Trump. The letters were intercepted by law enforcement before reaching Trump. A former Navy sailor, William Allen, was arrested and charged in connection with the incident. In March 2020, Jessica Prim, a QAnon supporter, was arrested in New York after making threats against Trump on social media. She was found with several knives in her car. Prim was taken into custody and underwent a psychiatric evaluation. In September 2020, another package containing ricin was intercepted before reaching the White House. Pascal Ferrier, a Canadian woman, was arrested at the US-Canada border in connection with the package. She had previously been detained in Texas for weapon-related offenses. These incidents highlight the various threats faced by public figures and the extensive security measures in place to protect them. Each attempt on Trump was thwarted due to the vigilance of law enforcement agencies and the Secret Service. Coming in at number 9 is Gerald Ford, the 38th president. He faced 2 assassination attempts during his presidency, both in September 1975 and within a span of 17 days. These incidents are notable for their proximity in time and the fact that both would-be assassins were women. Fromm, a follower of Charles Manson, attempted to shoot President Ford in Sacramento, California. She approached Ford with a Colt .45 caliber pistol while he was walking to the California State Capitol. Fromm managed to get within a few feet of Ford before drawing the pistol and pointing it at him. The gun was loaded, but she had not chambered a round, and thus, the weapon did not fire when she pulled the trigger. Secret Service agents quickly subdued her. Fromm was arrested, tried, and convicted of attempted assassination. She was sentenced to life in prison, but was paroled in 2009 after serving 34 years. Just 17 days later, Sarah Jane Moore, a political radical, attempted to assassinate Ford in San Francisco, California. Moore fired a .38 caliber revolver at Ford from across the street as he was leaving the St. Francis Hotel. Her shot missed Ford by a narrow margin. Moore was immediately arrested. She was later tried and convicted, receiving a life sentence. She was paroled in 2007 after serving 32 years in prison. These attempts led to changes in Secret Service protocols and the enhancement of security measures for protecting high-profile individuals. Sliding into number 8 is Harry S. Truman, the 33rd president. On November 1, 1950, Puerto Rican nationalists Oscar Collazo and Griselio Torresola attempted to kill President Truman at the Blair House, where he was living during White House renovations. They planned to assassinate Truman to draw attention to their cause. During the attack, Truman was taking a nap in his bedroom. He was awoken by the commotion. After the attackers was sustained, Collazo survived his injuries and was tried and convicted of murder. Initially sentenced to death, his sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment by President Truman. Coming in at number 7 is the 25th president, William McKinley. He was tragically assassinated on September 6, 1901, in Buffalo, New York. The assassin, Leon Czolgosz, was an anarchist who believed that McKinley represented oppression and that his death would further the anarchist cause. McKinley was attending a public reception at the Temple of Music on the Exposition grounds. Despite warnings from his security detail, McKinley insisted on meeting and greeting the public. As he stood in a receiving line, Czolgosz approached him with a revolver concealed under a handkerchief. As McKinley extended his hand to greet Czolgosz, the assassin fired 2 shots at point-blank range. One bullet grazed McKinley while the other penetrated his abdomen, causing severe internal injuries. Leon Czolgosz was immediately apprehended by bystanders and police officers. He showed no remorse for his actions and was quickly tried, convicted, and sentenced to death. Czolgosz was executed in the electric chair on October 29, 1901. So there you have it. McKinley's assassination remains a significant event in American history, symbolizing the challenges and dangers faced by national leaders. At number 6 is Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th president. He faced significant dangers during his political career, including notable assassination attempts. Known for his robust personality and progressive policies, Roosevelt's life was marked by moments where his resilience and courage were put to the test. On October 14, 1912, while campaigning for a third term, former President Roosevelt was shot in the chest by saloonkeeper John Schrank. Remarkably, the bullet was slowed by Roosevelt's steel eyeglass case and a thick 50-page speech manuscript he had in his jacket pocket. The bullet remained lodged in his chest for the rest of his life as doctors deemed it too risky to remove. Despite the injury, Roosevelt insisted on delivering his speech, famously beginning with, "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether you fully understand that I've just been shot, but it takes more than that to kill a bull moose." He spoke for 90 minutes before receiving medical attention. Roosevelt's act of defiance and bravery garnered immense public sympathy and demonstrated his physical and mental toughness. Schrank was found insane and committed to a mental institution for the rest of his life. This event not only solidified his legacy as a fearless leader but also left an indelible mark on the history of American presidential security. At number 5 is George W. Bush, the 43rd president. George faced multiple assassination attempts during his time in office. In Tbilisi, Georgia, Bush was delivering a speech in Freedom Square, as part of his tour to promote democracy in Eastern Europe. During Bush's speech, Arut Union threw a Soviet-era RGD-5 hand grenade towards the stage. The grenade landed about 100 feet from the stage, close to the crowd. The grenade failed to explode due to a malfunction, possibly caused by a handkerchief wrapped tightly around it to avoid accidental detonation during the throw. Initially unnoticed, the grenade was later found by a Georgian security officer and safely removed. Arut Union evaded capture immediately after the incident but was arrested 2 months later following a shootout with police, during which he killed an officer. He was sentenced to life in prison in January 2006. This incident highlighted the global reactions to his presidency and the constant vigilance required to protect world leaders in an unpredictable world. At number 4 we have Ronald Reagan, the 40th president. He faced a serious assassination attempt during his first year in office. This event had significant implications for presidential security and the political landscape of the time. On March 30, 1981, Reagan was leaving the Washington Hilton Hotel after delivering a speech to the AFL-CIO's Building and Construction Trades Department. John Hinckley Jr., a mentally disturbed individual obsessed with actress Jodie Foster. Hinckley believed that by assassinating Reagan, he would gain her attention and admiration. As Reagan exited the hotel and approached his limousine, Hinckley fired 6 shots from a .22 caliber revolver. 3 of the shots hit members of Reagan's entourage. A ricocheted bullet struck Reagan under his left arm, lodging in his lung and stopping less than an inch from his heart. Despite being seriously wounded, Reagan was rushed to George Washington University Hospital. He underwent emergency surgery and recovered rapidly, displaying his characteristic humor and optimism. Hinckley was found not guilty by reason of insanity and committed to St. Elizabeth Hospital, a psychiatric institution, where he remained for over 3 decades. The assassination attempt on President Ronald Reagan led to important changes in gun control legislation and presidential security protocols. Number 3 is John F. Kennedy, the 35th president. He faced significant danger throughout his presidency, culminating in his tragic assassination. However, there were notable threats and attempts on his life before the fatal event in Dallas. Kennedy had recently been elected president and was staying at his family's compound in Palm Beach. Richard Pavlik, a 73-year-old retired postal worker who harbored deep resentment toward Kennedy, believing his wealth and influence were a threat to the country. Pavlik had rigged his car with dynamite and planned to detonate it near Kennedy. On December 11, 1960, he waited outside Kennedy's home, intending to drive his car into Kennedy's vehicle and trigger the explosion. He aborted his plan at the last minute when he saw Kennedy with his wife Jacqueline and their 2 children, Caroline and John Jr. Pavlik was arrested 4 days later, and his car was found to be packed with enough explosives to have killed everyone within a considerable radius. On November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas. The tragic event took place during a motorcade through Dealey Plaza. Kennedy was in a convertible limousine. As the motorcade passed the Texas School Book Depository, shots rang out. Kennedy was struck by 2 bullets. The first bullet passed through his neck, and the second fatal bullet struck his head. The motorcade immediately rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where Kennedy was pronounced dead at 1 p.m. Within hours, Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine who had defected to the Soviet Union and later returned to the United States, was arrested. He was charged with the murder of President Kennedy. Oswald's arrest did not provide closure. 2 days after his arrest, on November 24, 1963, Oswald was shot and killed by Jack Ruby while being transferred from the city jail to the county jail. At number 2 is James Garfield, the 20th president. Garfield was the second president to be assassinated, 6 months after taking office. Charles J. Guiteau, a disgruntled and mentally unstable office seeker, was the assassin. Guiteau had persistently lobbied for a government position, believing that he had played a significant role in Garfield's election victory. When his demands were not met, he felt wronged and decided to take drastic action. On the morning of July 2nd, as Garfield was walking through the station, Guiteau approached him from behind and fired 2 shots. The first bullet grazed Garfield's arm, but the second bullet lodged in his back, near his spine. Despite efforts to save him, including an experimental attempt to locate the bullet with the use of Alexander Graham Bell's metal detector, Garfield's condition deteriorated. On September 19, 1881, he succumbed to his injuries and passed away in Elberon, New Jersey. Charles Guiteau was arrested immediately after the shooting. His trial began in November 1881. He was found guilty of murder and was sentenced to death. Guiteau was hanged on June 30, 1882. Garfield's assassination led to increased public awareness of the need for civil service reform, ultimately resulting in the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act of 1883. Garfield's death also highlighted the need for advancements in medical practices and the importance of sterile procedures in treating wounds, which would eventually contribute to improvements in medical science and surgery. Finally, the president at number 1 on our list is Abraham Lincoln. President Lincoln, the 16th president, was assassinated on April 14, 1865, just days after the end of the Civil War. The assassination took place at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. John Booth, a well-known actor and Confederate sympathizer, carried out the assassination. Booth was a fervent supporter of the South and vehemently opposed to Lincoln's policies, particularly the emancipation of slaves. On the night of April 14th, Lincoln attended a performance of the play, Our American Cousin, at Ford's Theater. Booth, who was familiar with the theater, knew the layout, and had easy access to the president's box. At approximately 10:15 p.m., Booth slipped into the presidential box and fired a single shot from a .44 caliber Derringer pistol into the back of Lincoln's head. Rathbone attempted to stop Booth but was slashed by Booth's knife. Lincoln was immediately attended to by several doctors who were in the audience. They determined that his wound was fatal, and he was carried across the street to the Peterson House, where he remained in a coma for several hours. Despite the efforts to save him, Lincoln died at 7:22 a.m. on April 15, 1865. A massive manhunt ensued for Booth and his accomplices. Booth was tracked down to a farm in Virginia and was killed on April 26, 1865, after a standoff with Union soldiers. His co-conspirators were captured, tried, and hanged on July 7, 1865. Lincoln's legacy as a leader who preserved the Union and abolished slavery endures, and his assassination is remembered as one of the most significant and tragic events in American history. And there you have it, folks, our top 10 president assassination attempts. These assassination attempts and tragic deaths remind us of the volatile intersection of politics and violence. Each event left an indelible mark on the nation and the world. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the most compelling moments of history on our top 10 lists.